The Birdie Board podcast is brought to you by the Birdie Board app, the easiest way to track matches, scores, and handicaps with friends. Now, here's your host, Corey, with another episode of the Birdie Board podcast.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Birdie Board podcast. Have an exciting episode this week. We are actually going to go over a pretty big event we had with Birdie Board. So every year, it's starting to turn into a tradition. We go on a golf trip, me and a couple of buddies from church. So last year started as a group of 8 of us, kind of the first version of Birdie Board, I would say. It was an Excel sheet or Google sheet that we shared among everyone on the trip. Went really, really well, and that's kind of what led to what you guys know as Birdie Board today. But what was different this season is the actual Birdie Board app, which is a big part of why this podcast even exists. So leading into this golf trip, instead of 8 guys, we had 12, but we still wanted to format it the exact same way. So this is how we formatted it. So we had a 6 versus 6 match. 6 people on the red team, 6 people on the blue team. The match was split into 3 different rounds. The first round was Stableford, so it's team Stableford. So how that works is the combined Stableford score of one team is put up against the combined Stableford score of the other team. And then the Stableford is scored that's based off of the net of each individual golfer. So if you're not familiar with Stableford, it is a way to play golf where it is high score wins instead of low score wins. And what it really helps with is it helps minimize the effect of the really bad holes. So we did regular Stableford, which means a double bogey or worse is just 0 points. So if you have a really bad hole, like you shot 8 or 9 or 10, even after your handicap was applied, the worst you're going to get for your team is a 0. And then you get points based off of how well you do on that hole. So a bogey is 1 point, a par is 2 points, birdie is 3, eagle is 4, albatross is 5. So for example, on the first hole of our match here, we had a score of, the red team had a combined score of 10 points, and the blue team had a score of 11. So that means the blue team won that hole. So that was round 1. And kind of backing up, I guess, for a second, I forgot to mention that every hole is scored individually, which helps also minimize the impact. So if you have one really bad hole, which will matter later in the round, then it's not as impactful to the overall round. So how we scored is kind of like a mini Ryder format, where if you know in Ryder, like you can score a point for a team, or you split it, or you don't get anything, but it considers the whole round at play, all 18 holes, and then you just get 1 point or no points in the end, or half a point. It's kind of like that, but we do it hole by hole. So every hole has a point up for grabs. So on the first day, it's 6 versus 6. So that means really we only have 18 points up for grabs between the 2 teams. So that was day 1. Day 2, and I'll go over the results in a little bit. Day 2 was a format of best ball. So instead of 6 versus 6, we split it into 2 versus 2 groups, and the 2 players play best ball. It's still based off of the net score, but the same idea where it's still hole by hole. The second day, there's 54 points up for grabs, so 18 times 3. And then the last day, it comes down to just 1 versus 1. So this is just stroke net play. We try to pair up the golfers that are most similar to each other. So that's kind of the format for the whole match. And this is kind of how it went down. So this trip was our 2025 version of our golf trip, leading after our 2024 version. We have, like I said, 3 rounds, 12 guys, 2 separate teams, and then we use Birdie Board to just kind of manage the whole thing and keep things organized. The golf match was in southern Delaware, which has some really beautiful courses down there. There's a lot of a mix of open fairways. We played a links course. We played just more of your traditional course, course with a lot of water, a lot of nice variety. Birdie Board helped aid in a lot of the trash talk throughout the trip. And we just simply had a red team and a blue team. Like I said, you win a hole, you get a point, you tie a hole, you half it, or you get none in a loss. So simple, just pure competition. And Birdie Board tracked it shot by shot. Round 1 was at a course called Heritage Shores. We played the championship tees, which were 6,430 yards. The course rating was 71 with a slope rating of 138. I think the course was in perfect shape. It had a lot of long open fairways, but I wouldn't say all of them were straight, but they did invite big drives if you could get around corners or cut the corners or something like that, but it wasn't very forgiving off the fairways. The greens were pretty punishing. No matter where you were, they were rolled fast, but they weren't the hardest greens of the weekend. One nice thing about having the 6 versus 6 format is it really came down to the team's collective performance. So you're in a cart with your teammates rather than your competitors. So you're kind of getting to know your group and stuff. It's a great way to kick off a golf tournament, is having more of a very higher emphasis on that team play rather than individual play, and maybe slowly work toward that individual play. So that's how we've set it up for the last 2 years, and it's worked really well, because sometimes in these types of golf tournaments, you just won't see some of your teammates at all. Even if you're just always playing like 1 versus 1 matches or best ball, like you just might never see, if you're a low handicapper, you might never be paired with a high handicapper or something like that. But a cool thing about a 6 versus 6 on the first day, or this format that we did, is you get to just be in a cart with all your teammates. So through the 18 holes, Birdie Board made the round very effortless. All the people had to do is just put in the score, their actual score, and Birdie Board adjusts it based off of everyone's individual handicap. It also adjusts their score based off of the course rating and slope rating, which is really important because we have a high range of handicaps out on this golf trip. And then 3, it applied the stay before it score and did all the math and figured out who won each hole. So throughout the round, everyone was able to kind of watch the track, the app, to kind of see how the round was going. And it was a really exciting round. The whole round pretty much went back and forth. The red team and the blue team, so again, just the 2 teams, hole one was won by the blue team, and red team came right back and won hole 2. So we were already 1-1 just 2 holes in. Blue team then went on a 4-hole stretch. So by hole 6, the blue team was up 5-1 right off the bat. But then red team started coming back. They won 8 and 9. Blue team won 10. Red team won 11. Blue team won 12 and 13. And then red team finished really, really strong, winning 4 of the last 5 holes. So in the end, the 18 points that were up for grabs, 10 of them went to the blue team and 8 of them went to the red team, making it just a 2-point match going into the next day. Some of the key stats that came out of the first day, Cam shot 4 under his handicap with 68. That was the best net score of the day. It was a gross score of 81. The highest score of the game went to a guy who went by the name Two-Way Miss Rye. He shot a 120, which was well above their handicap. The best net hole was actually a net hole-in-one by Ryan, which is cool to see. The most consistent scorer on the day was Doug. And then the worst blow-up hole was also the Two-Way Miss Rye, which he had a hole that was almost 4 strokes above his round average. So that was definitely a mulligan moment for him. The next day was our best ball day. So we had 3 competitions going on. It was easy to just throw the whole competition inside of a cart. So we had Josh versus Two-Way Rye on the red team, and Patrick versus Sweet Joey B on the blue team. We have Bow Wow and Doug on the red team versus T Bates and myself on the blue team. And then we had Cam and Noah on the red team versus Matt and Ryan on the blue team. So a lot of great competitions going on here. As I mentioned earlier, day 2 had 54 points up for grabs. So 3 competitions of 18 holes each, a lot of points there. And this is kind of highlights of this round. So we played a course called Baywood Greens, probably the most beautiful course we played at all weekend, definitely the premier course that we scheduled. It had some of the most picturesque moments, I think, probably in southern Delaware for a lot of the courses. I know there's a couple better courses than Baywood, but man, this one had some beautiful scenes. We played a later tee time. We barely got it done, but we teed off around 2:30, so we were out on the course right around sunset, so it was beautiful. We played the white tees. I think most of us wanted to play the white tees. We debated the blue teams, but since we were having a later tee time, it was better for us to tee off on the shorter tees for pace of play. So that gave us a course rating of a 70.2 and a slope rating of 134. So still a little harder for your bogey golfers out there. The round switched to that 2 versus 2 best ball format. So like I said, there was 3 matches and 54 points up for grabs. So this is how it kind of went down. The Cam and Noah team, which is red, versus Matt and Ryan, which was a blue team. Red came out really hot, and they snagged 11 of the 18 points. So that matchup finished with red getting 11 points and blue getting 7. Bow Wow and Doug from the red team played T Bates and myself. This is the only team of the day that actually won it for the blue team. And it was a narrow margin. So blue got 9.5 points and red got 8.5. So only won by a point there. And then Josh and Two-Way Miss Rye for the red team played Patrick H and Sweet Joey B on the blue team. That was another tight match, but red still ultimately came out on in the end at 10.5 to 7.5 on that. So kind of when everything settled on the day, the red team swapped the leaders. So if you remember, round 1, blue team was winning by 2. Now at the end of round 2, red team surged ahead. They earned 30 points to the blue team's 24, which flipped the overall match to in their favor, where now red team is up 38-34. And Birdie Board just showed all of this. It was instant and beautifully organized. I think it really helped us just focus on the match and just enhance the fun of it. A couple key highlights from the round. Ryan M, he caught fire on this day. He took the hot streak honors in Birdie Board, scoring an 8-hole run of 5 or less strokes on the day. Matt continued his reputation as the straight shooter, which is the most consistent scorer on the day. Sweet Joey B locked up the Sixes Wild title, which is how many holes of 6 or more than anyone else. And T Bates had a tough hole on number 10, which might still be a topic of conversation next year. And I think he shot like a 10 or something on that hole. So by the end of round 2, still really tight match, 38-34. And now we're going into round 3, which is played at the Links at St. Anne's, which was in Middletown, so a little bit north of southern Delaware. So this day, we also played from the white tee boxes. It was 6,145 yards, course rating of 69.6, slope rating of 125, and it really was anyone's match. On this last day, this is when the individual strokes matter the most. We just played 1 versus 1 net stroke play, and there was 6 head-to-head matchups, which meant there was 108 points on the line. So every hole really mattered. Even if you were down, you could still earn points for your team. And this is kind of how the day unfolded. So how Birdie Board works is it organizes in a round like this, it organizes the competitions based off of handicap. So what it will try to do is it will try to keep the closest handicaps together. So the two lowest handicaps were Cam and Matt. So they played one-on-one. Now, Cam still received a couple strokes over Matt because Cam was, I think, at like a 12 or 13 handicap, and Matt was at a 9. So we're still playing net stroke play. Cam started off really strong with like a 5-1 lead over Matt, but Matt helped reduce the bleeding and ended up still losing in the end, but finishing the match 11-7. We're finishing the competition 11-7, earning 7 points for the blue team and Cam earning 11 for the red team. The next competition was the next step up in handicap. So that was Noah and Ryan, and they had a incredible match. And by the end, it was dead even 9-9. So they played each other really strong. Birdie Board found a nice even matchup between the two of them. And they both earned their teams 9 points. It's really the type of match that I think defines a nice friendly competition. I'm sure they had fun through the whole thing. The next was very, very similar. We had Bow Wow on the red team versus T Bates on the blue team. Again, another hard-fought battle with a 9-9 draw in the end. So at this point, there was only a 4-point advantage for the red team. But this is where it kind of broke down a little bit. This was the biggest blowout of the day. It was myself versus Doug. I definitely had a really good final day. I shot a 96 at a pretty difficult course, but that wasn't by far my best round, and it was still 2 over my handicap. The difference with that match is Doug just had a really rough day. He shot, I think, 120, and he shot right around 100 the 2 days before. So just the course just didn't treat him right. And unfortunately for them, that meant that I won 15 of the 18 holes, getting 15 points for the blue team to his 3 points for the red team, which was the biggest margin of the weekend. The next competition was similar story here. It was Patrick H versus Josh. Patrick was on the blue team, Josh was on the red team. And Patrick played similar to what he played the previous 2 days, but the course just tore up Josh. Josh had a rough day. He locked up hole horror on the day, which scoring a 12 on a par 3, just getting stuck in a bunker. We've all been there before. It just couldn't get out. It was a cool opportunity. We were talking a little bit after that hole. There's a rule in golf where you can take a 2-stroke penalty at any time to get free relief. His ball was pretty plugged. In that bunker, it was a grass bunker with really, really thick grass that just kind of grabs your club. It might have been an opportunity for him to have taken that. You know, hindsight's 20/20. I don't know how much it would have really changed things, but it was a cool opportunity, and those things you just don't really get by not playing golf very often. So you don't see that too often, but it was a cool opportunity to kind of talk to Josh about it. I'm by no means an expert. You're always in those situations thinking you're going to get out of the bunker, but and unfortunately in this case, he just didn't. So that round also ended pretty one-sided with Patrick winning 12.5 of the points to Josh only winning 5.5. So at this point, blue team has a pretty favorable lead over the red team. Then we get to our last match or competition of the day, which is two-way Miss Rye on the red team versus Sweet Joey B on the blue team. These were the highest handicappers of the weekend, but it was a pretty tight battle throughout. They ended with red team winning the majority of the points, two-way Miss Rye getting 10 of the points, and Sweet Joey B getting 8. But if you're doing the math in your head, you kind of realize that wasn't enough. So when Birdie Board finally tallied all the points together, blue team stormed back after their deficit going into round 3. They got 60.5 of the points available to red team's 47.5, which gave them that final victory they needed, with a final score of 94.5 for the blue team to the 85.5 on the red team. Only a 9-point difference. Birdie Board does something cool too. It summarizes the feathered feats, not just for each round, but it also does it for the whole match. We have a stat called Team MVP, which is just highlighting how many points everyone gets for their respective teams. This really highlights how much they're contributing, even if they're not like the best golfer on the team. That's one of the things I really like about Birdie Board is it will give the stats that can show that high handicapper is even contributing versus a low handicap golfer. So the team MVP is how many points out of those 90-some points or this 70 points in the loss or this 80 points in the loss that they get their team. So because of my performance on the last day, I got my team 30.5 points out of the 94.5 that our team won with. Patrick H., who also had a strong performance on the very last day, got 27.5 of the points. And then two-way Miss Rye, who was one of the higher handicappers, actually earned his team 26 of the points. He was the highest team points for the blue team. So he's not the best golfer on the team, but that's the cool thing about Birdie Board is it allows golfers to still be effective. So just closing thoughts, it was a fun weekend. We played 54 holes over 3 days at 3 separate courses. The blue team rose victoriously at the end. We did have a prize, which was cool. The winning team's going to play at the Philadelphia Country Club, which I'm pretty excited about. I have actually never played at a country club before, so I'm looking forward to that. It was cool personally to see Birdie Board on the scale. Up to this point, I've only done smaller weekend rounds. I've done 2 multi-round matches, once in Ocean City, New Jersey with my dad, and once with Sweet Joey B over 2 days. Both went well, both found some bug fixes, but that led to some of the success we saw for this trip. So it's really just satisfying to look back. It seemed like everyone really enjoyed it, got good reviews for Birdie Board, and it was just a good weekend with friends. So that's it for this episode of Birdie Board. I'm going to continue to keep trying to release these on a regular basis. If you're interested in trying Birdie Board out, it is free on the App Store right now, both Apple and Google. You guys can download it there. If you do download it, please leave a review. That means a lot. It helps kind of get the word out about Birdie Board. If you don't like it for some reason, don't leave a review. I would actually love to hear why you don't like it, because I'm kind of in the earlier stages of building Birdie Board. So you can go to birdieboard.golf, send me a message and kind of let me know why you didn't like it. That's actually a lot more constructive than leaving a 1-star review without any comments, because I just don't know why you're leaving a 1-star review. And I really just want Birdie Board to be a great app for everyone that uses it. So that's it. Gonna sign off. Until next time, enjoy golf.
Thanks for tuning in to the Birdie Board podcast. If you enjoyed it, subscribe and share it with a friend who loves golf as much as you do. And before your next round, grab the Birdie Board app, free on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store, and let it handle the scoring while you enjoy the game.